everyone. Welcome to the council workshop to discuss Adventure Landing. There was a little bit of confusion in terms of the availability of public comment, so I think what we'll do in terms of a compromise to make sure it's fair to everyone who did come expecting to be able to speak is that we'll have the presentations, questions and comments from council, and then we'll open it up to questions from citizens, as well as we have our planning commission in attendance. So we do have our next meeting start at 6:30, so we'll just go until we hit that time. But I can assure you, this is the first meeting on this item. This is a workshop. This is for the property owners to give us an idea of what they're looking to do, as well as for our planning department. Are you presenting first? They'll give us a little bit of an overview, but this is an initial meeting, so I know there's a lot of questions and a lot of public concern about this, but this is first. There will be a lot of additional opportunity for citizen input and feedback. So if there are no questions or concerns from up here, we'll go ahead and have Heather Ireland, our planning director, come up to the podium.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So I'm going to do some similar information that we did for the Beach Marine presentation, just to give you a little bit of background on the property, what the current land use and zoning designations are, and what the application process flow will look like, and then we'll let the representatives from the property give you some more details on what the project that they're proposing is. So as we all know, the property that we are talking about this evening is the Adventure Landing property, which has been there since, I believe, the early 90s. It consists of roughly 22 acres of property. The developed portion of it fronts Beach Boulevard. And there are 2 unpaved parking areas to the south of the park that are used for overflow parking during their busy season. There are also approximately 7 acres of wetlands under a conservation easement. It's the heavily wooded area in the southeast corner of the property. Oops, too far. So there are several current future land use designations for this property. You have around 8 acres of commercial, which is fronting Beach Boulevard. Got around 7 acres of recreation open space and approximately 7 acres of conservation, which are those wetlands I mentioned before. There's a small portion, let's see if I can get this thing to work. Right here is about 0.3 acres of high density residential. It's not this whole area, it's just this little, it's hard to see the outline here. And I just put Pablo Hamlet on there for reference so you have an idea of exactly what we're talking about. So just some history on some previous future land use amendments on the property. Back in 1996, there was a small scale comprehensive plan amendment to change approximately 9 acres of undeveloped property from residential high density land use to conservation and recreation open space, and this was done to allow some of the grass overflow parking area that they have at the park now. And in '98, there was another small scale amendment for just under 3 acres for the same purposes, to allow some additional grass parking just south of the park. So the current zoning district designations of the property, fronting Beach Boulevard, you have C2, which is commercial general, which is our most intense commercial zoning district. The 2 small parking areas, the grass parking areas, were rezoned to PUD, and I'll give you a little more information on that. And the area that is the conservation wetlands, that is under a conservation easement, is actually zoned RM1, which is multifamily residential. And there's just a little area of single-family residential on there as well, in between the parking areas. Again, some previous changes that were made that were related to the land use changes were these 2 grass parking areas were changed to planned unit development, or PUD, back in '97 and '98. Again, just to accommodate the change of use to allow the overflow grass parking areas. The intention was that it would be around 6 months out of the year during their busy season. I won't get into the details of the project. I'll let the next presenter provide that to you, but generally they're looking to do a multifamily residential project on the Adventure Landing property. What this would entail from An application standpoint, what they will have to provide to the city are two things. You have a future land use map amendment that will change some of the property from commercial, or I'm sorry, yes, from commercial to rec open space and high density residential. The property designated as conservation would remain as such. And the property owner is looking to change approximately 30 acres or a portion of it that is currently residential single family over into conservation to make up for some of the property that they would be changing the designation into high density residential. On the rezoning side, they've indicated that they would move forward with a planned unit development for the entire property to allow them some flexibility with their development. And again, these processes can run concurrent with each other. Just to cover again what the process would look like for the applications, future land use map amendments take approximately 4 to 5 months. They do go before the Planning Commission prior to coming to City Council for consideration. If approved, it would be transmitted to the state for their review and then come back to City Council for final adoption. For the zoning changes, it takes about approximately 3 months. Again, these processes can run concurrent with each other. Similar process, application goes before the Planning Commission and then comes to City Council for 2 readings. All of these processes are public meetings, and then the public would have an opportunity to comment on the changes as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions from council, or if you want to wait until the next presenter, we can do it at that time.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from council? Flip your lights if you do. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Steve Ebenall. I'm here on behalf of the property owner, and I have some handouts I'd love to share with you. So we can look at it not only on the big screen but also in hard copies. I have some copies for the audience as well. I'm not sure I brought enough for everybody, but I'll see how far they go. Just to hand them out and we can share them. I'm going to give my phone number and email address too in case folks want electronic copies. Again, thank you, Mayor and Heather. Thank you for the great overview. Again, my name is Steve Ebenall. I'm going to give out my cell phone number and my email address right quick in case there's anyone in the audience that either has questions or concerns or would like copies of the materials we're handing out today. I'll be happy to provide that. My email address is SD, so it's like my initials, SD at Driver McAfee, DRIVER, McAfee is MCAFEE.com. And my cell phone number is 904-982-4425. 904-982-4425. And again, feel free to send me a text or an email. I'll get you materials, answer questions, anything I can do to help get information to you, I'll make every effort. All right, so tonight we're here to talk about a proposal to rezone and to change the comprehensive plan map on the property that everyone knows as Adventure Landing. Heather did a great job explaining the history of it. What I'd like to do is talk to you about what our vision is for the property and then again answer any questions. We have not filed any applications. There's nothing pending that the planning department is reviewing. I've spoken with a lot of the members of council, a few of the planning commissioners about the plans in general, but I think this is the first time, I know it's the first time, that you all have seen this presentation. So we'll go through it, and please stop me at any time if you have questions or concerns. Okay, any questions so far? All right. So the property that we're talking about, Heather showed us an aerial of what it looked like previously. This is an aerial photograph of what the property would look like generally based on our proposal. And if you look on the right-hand column, there are some statistics that talk about what would be included. So this rezoning would have 427 units of market rate multifamily, and it would be parked at code required, which is 2 parking spaces per unit. So it would have 854 parking spaces. There would be about 400 parking spaces in a 4-level parking garage, and then the other 454 parking spaces would be surface parked. Everything is under 35 feet tall. So it meets the height requirements, it meets the parking requirements, it meets the stormwater requirements. Those are typically the most onerous requirements that the City of Jacksonville Beach's Land Development Code puts on property. We aspire, and I think we'll get there, but our aspiration is not to have to ask for any variances or deviations from the code for our rezoning. I can't confirm that today, but that's what we're shooting for. Our hope is that we can fit the number of units, the number of parking, setbacks, everything that's required under your code for zoning as well as the comprehensive plan. You can see, if I can figure out how the pointer works here. Is the pointer, is that the pointer? There it is. Okay, so we've got the residential units up here. Here and here are stormwater ponds. These are part of the properties that are right now zoned for parking. And then you've got the conservation area here that was discussed. And then this property owner also acquired this 34-acre parcel down here, which has some really interesting characteristics from a zoning and land use perspective. So a lot of these maps are a little bit busy, and it takes a while to digest everything on them. But this is the existing land use today. So on the top here under parcel 1, this is the commercial parcel that Heather mentioned. That's about 8 acres in size. Parcel 2 and parcel 3, which are these little tiny pieces, parcel 4 and parcel 5. All of those right now are recreation open space. And then the ones that look like bricks, which are parcel 6 and then parts of parcel 8, that's all estuarine wetlands. That's how your comprehensive plan characterizes those properties. And then the dots is low density residential. So all of this property right here that's in parcel 8 is currently designated for low density residential. And the acres are here as well as all the different parcels. Prior to this meeting, we have spoken with the folks at the church. So we've met with the pastor as well as members of his board. We've talked to the owner of Taco Lou next door here. I've reached out to at least 2 property owners here off of Hobson Road to let them know what we were doing. I was not able to identify the HOA or anyone else that's kind of the neighborhood leader, but I have spoken with at least 2 property owners in there. And then I also spoke with one of the property owners over here that's in the townhomes that are kind of right up against the bridge. My goal was to make sure that nobody read about this in the paper, and that hopefully we gave enough notice for folks to know that we were starting the process today. We've also spoken with the folks to the north, the Beach Marine owners as well, because we share a traffic light with them, and obviously what we do and what they do will have some synergies, we hope. Our land use after the fact, as you can see, what we've done is we've basically taken parcel 1, which is commercial, and we've converted that to high density residential. Parcel 2, which is that middle piece here, we've taken from what was previously open space and converted it into high density residential. When we do that, your comprehensive plan says that we have to replace it with either estuarine wetlands or recreation open space. So parcel 8, although it's about 35 acres, about 15 of those acres are planned for low density residential. So when you net everything out, we're basically asking to convert 5 acres of recreation open space with 15 acres of low density residential. So it's about a 3-to-1 swap from a comprehensive plan standpoint. From a zoning perspective, the bulk of the property is zoned C2, which is a commercial category. That's about 10 acres. You have the rezonings that are in these gold colors that Heather mentioned previously. Those are primarily your parking lots today. And then the 35 acres that's to the south is all zoned RS1, which is residential single family. And if our proposal were to go through, your entire site would be zoned PUD. And we would be spelling out exactly what would go on inside each one of those parcels. So kind of recasting that from a map perspective into a table perspective, you can see on the left-hand side, we've got it categorized by land use over here. We've got the zoning over here. And then we've got parcel by parcel, the analysis as well on the right-hand side. So from a land use perspective, you're basically doubling the amount of wetlands and open space that's on the site, and you're reducing the commercial category by 8 acres, and then you're increasing the residential high density by about 13 acres, and zeroing out all the residential low density land use. So from a planning perspective, it's a tremendous downzoning. We have not done the analysis on what the actual use is, adventure landing, amusement park versus multifamily, but we expect that we'll have some traffic analysis that we'll have to produce for this project as well. From a zoning perspective, you can see that it gets actually even more simple. We've taken out the C2, the RM1, the RS1, and the old PUDs, and we've replaced it all with one PUD, and that would be the proposal that would come before you, along with our preliminary development plan. I'm not going to go through the right-hand side of this table. It gets pretty busy, but I think you get the idea. So this is an elevation that we have produced for the project. This is a rendering by Dynamic Design. They're the architect on the property. I won't speak in architectural terms because that's not my forte. I don't know if you'd call this modern coastal or Rosemary Beach or modern. I'm not sure how you would characterize this. But the goal is to have something that's fresh, that's modern, that and again, the owner acknowledges that this is a very high-profile piece of property. It'll literally be the first thing that you see when you come over the intercoastal on the right-hand side when you're driving to the east to Jacksonville Beach. And so he appreciates the importance of the architecture and the look of the property. I would encourage you or anyone that's listening or watching to give us feedback. Give us feedback on the site plan, give us feedback on the architecture. Again, these are all plans right now, and they're things that we can certainly work on. Again, this is our best first effort. If there are things that need to be improved, the property owner is certainly willing to have a dialogue about them and to make this the very best project we possibly can. The last slide here, which I'll just leave up, is basically a blow-up of the proposed development. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions and share any additional information that I can on this project.
Thank you, Mr. Now, council, questions? I am going to ask some questions on behalf of some citizens that I've heard from in the past couple of days. Can you just go back to the status of Adventure Landing and any opportunity for Adventure Landing to continue to exist in its current form?
Right, yeah, I really don't have any transparency on Adventure Landing's ability to operate. I know there was a court order from the bankruptcy court that was recently mentioned in the local papers, and I don't have any vision into their ability to operate. I know that on Blanding Boulevard, I recently was involved. Blanding Boulevard is another Adventure Landing location that was recently closed. It closed actually this weekend, and we worked with the new property owner. That Adventure Landing is going to be taken down, and it's going to be a parking lot for an Amazon distribution center. So I know that there are 9, 10, 11 Adventure Landing sites. What I've heard is that each one is being evaluated separately. In the case of the one on Blanding Boulevard, that's going to be a parking lot. Hopefully, in this case, it'll be reused and redeveloped into something that generates property taxes and activity for the city. But I don't know what Adventure Landing's ability is to operate.
So as far as you see it at this point, even if the property owner were willing, it's probably not a likely.
Again, I really don't know. The court order says that this particular location will end operating in October in order to give them time to sell pieces of their business and then be able to pay the bankruptcy court or whoever their creditors are. So that's the most information that I have in terms of their ability to continue operating after that. I'm sure that would require some type of court order, but we're not a part of that litigation and we're not privy to Adventure Landing's current ability to operate.
Thank you. Mr. Mesa?
Good afternoon. Just to add to what you were saying about them having to close on October, I know they have to close in October and have to sell everything, and they have until February 20-something, and then they have to vacate the premises. Now, the question I have, you said you talked to Takaloo, the church, and some of the residents on Hobson Road. What feedback have you gotten back from them?
Everyone wants to know more information. No one was willing to, commit. No one was, again, I think folks were interested. They were concerned. They have great interest in what's going to happen on the property. I expect, especially the folks on Hobson Road, we offered to have a meeting with them as soon as they're ready. We also spoke to the immediate adjacent neighbor to the west, a gentleman named Spike Sissel. Mr. Sissel was very engaged and very interested in what was going on. The church was very interested and engaged about what was going on. We presented something to their, I'm not sure if it was their real estate committee, but we showed them pictures and drawings of what we intended to do. So I think everyone's open to the dialogue, but I wouldn't be, everyone has a great deal of nostalgia for Adventure Landing. I brought my kids there every year. My kids are now 20, 16, 15. We went there for at least 15 years at the end of, before school started. It was kind of a routine. But, I think everyone acknowledges that something happening is better than nothing, but I don't want to characterize how folks believe, what their thoughts are. But open to the conversation for sure.
If the land use and zoning stayed as it was today, there would be commercial frontage on Beach Boulevard and then single family, basically into what I would consider the marsh. Do you have a ballpark of how many single family homes you would be able to fit into that space?
Well, I don't know. That crazy shape there. Shutter Avenue hasn't been constructed all the way to the marsh, and part of the marsh is in the coastal high hazard area. Part of that land is also in a conservation easement. So there's a lot of things that a developer would have to overcome on Parcel 8 in order to build single-family homes. Certainly, for enough money, it could be done, but there's a lot of barriers for Parcel 8 to be developed. Although it does have access, and although the uplands are clustered towards Shutter Avenue, I can't guess what the density might be. But the commercial property along Beach Boulevard, sure, that could be, today, by right, could be taken down and turned into a strip shopping center. That would be the cleanest thing that would be available for the current property owner. Or it could be multifamily. Multifamily is allowed under that category as well.
Mr. Mott?
Thank you. These are very interesting plans, and I do want to make sure I thank you for being open to dialogue with us, with the city, and with the residents and the businesses in that area. I understand this is the first step, and you're willing to take in information and incorporate that feedback where applicable. So I want to make sure that I thank you for that, and it does. It's a big plan.
Thank you.
Mr. Mesa?
I do want to add something too. However this goes, whether it's the plans you propose or if the owner decides to change them, I do hope that they integrate whatever it is that we are trying to do with our vision, which is the beach life. So moving forward, I just hope the owner will take that into what we're trying to do in this community, and they can embrace that as well and be part of this community.
Right. Well, as you all know, a lot of you know, the owner of the property has participated in those visioning sessions, as I have. And I hope that you see that reflected in the architecture especially, but this particular proposal would be a full-service, market-rate project. It would have swimming pool, gym, media rooms. This would be by far, I think, the most, I'll say the most tie-in, luxurious multifamily project east of the Intercoastal, not including the condominiums, of course, but it's got tons of parking, it's got tons of activity. We think it integrates well, but we don't always get everything right, so we're willing to continue the conversation. If there are things that you see that we missed, please let us know.
All right, we're coming up on time. I don't have any more lights on the board. Ms. Ireland, do you have anything else to add at this point? Ms. Trudy, would you like to address the chambers? Okay, come on up, and if you can just give us your name and address, you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Trudy. I'm live at 438 Lower 8th Avenue South here at Jacksonville Beach. I'm obviously a homeowner. I'm also a small business owner in the area and a mother. I'm going to just amend my comments, obviously, to the what was said. I'm certainly saddened to see Adventure Landing go. I have a son, and we use that quite a bit. And so I really feel that that's going to be a loss to our community and the resources here at the community. The closest water park will now be either Orlando or Jekyll Island, which is surprising for a city. So I would like to add to the consideration some kind of community recreation pool or water source recreation. I know we have the splash parks, but something maybe a little bit more to consider as part of the recreational part of the plan, because I know we have the beach here, but many days that beach is not open and not safe to be able to use. I definitely support the conservation of the ecosystem around the area, so I'm very glad and happy to see that that has been included in this plan. While I feel housing is important in the community, we also need to support what makes living in this area desirable. So I know we need to balance the economic needs, but we also need to balance that with the community's needs, and especially for children and for families. I also am concerned, like everyone brings up, about the traffic situation and the parking situation. As a homeowner and a business owner, I obviously am dealing with that on a daily basis. So I've just asked the board here and the Community Planning Committee to take into some of these considerations and concerns as you move forward to put a plan together that's good for all of the residents here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Trudy. I think we're right at 6:30, so we'll go ahead and adjourn this workshop. I would say, Mr. Diebenow, if you could hang out in the hall or just outside of council chambers and maybe answer questions, especially from our planning commission members that might have some preliminary questions, and anyone else who wishes to chat about that. You're welcome to stay. We do have our regular briefing agenda coming up next, but if you want to go ahead and depart, we will give you guys a couple minutes to clear the room. Thank you all for being here tonight.